Hello YouTube, welcome back to my channel. I'm Street Tips. Today what I'm going to do is re-quart this bar, re-purify it, and get it nice and clean. This will also give me an opportunity to get the pieces of carrot scrap that I discovered in the bottom of the beaker there. I'm going to put that in with this. We'll quart this with silver, part it out with nitric acid, and re-purify this pure gold button. And then I'm going to cast it into a nice bar. I've got some brand new mold here that my daughter and son-in-law got me for Christmas. Been dying to try it. We're going to cast it up into a nice bar, and then we'll stamp it and offer it for sale on my eBay store. So here we go, part 2 of the gold-filled scrap video. Get a weight on the gold here. Here's our button from the previous video. Here's the little bit of carrot scrap that was in with the gold field. So we've got a total of 18.8 grams. I'm going to add the gold to a melt dish here. Okay, here I've taken the 18.8 multiplied by 3 to come up with 56.4 grams of silver. I reduced the amount of silver by multiplying that number by 0.95, and I've calculated I need 53.5 grams of silver. Alright, we're going to put this is a sterling silver cup. Put that up here. Then I've got a couple of pieces of sterling silver that I cut off of a bowl. I'm going to add 52.7 grams of sterling silver to this gold. I've got the gold in this melt dish down here. I'm going to melt it. Then I'm going to add the sterling silver and use this graphite rod to stir it and alloy the metals together. If you remember in one of my stock pot refining videos, I had some impurities in my gold and I tried to refine it out with a wet chemical process over and over, I think about 5 times, and I just could not get the impurities out. This, in quarting with silver, is like magic for purifying gold. It's a critical and crucial first step that really cleans the gold up nicely. Alright, here we go. We're going to pour off the tap water here And then I'm going to transfer the metal into this glass beaker carefully. I don't want to use chlorinated tap water here. It'll form silver chloride when we put the nitric acid on here. And I don't want to do that. I was just looking at this imported gold. I've never seen it look like that before. It looks like nails, but it matters not what form it takes. What I'm going to do now is put some used dilute nitric acid on here and start dissolving out the base metals from the imported gold. I've covered up the beaker. I'm going to set it up here on some medium heat, and we'll let this heat up and let that acid get all the base metals and silver dissolved away from the gold. What's happening here is that hot dilute nitric acid is starting to react with the base metals and silver. It starts on the outside of those pieces of imported gold, works its way into the center of those pieces, forming a honeycomb structure as it goes, and it'll get all the base metals and silver dissolved out of those pieces of imported gold. The alloy of the gold is down around 26-28% pure gold, to the rest being the base metals and the silver that we added. I can tell when the nitric has been used up here, when those fumes start going real light like that. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to pour the solution here into my silver jar. I've got some, let me do it this way. I've got some sterling silver in here, and that will consume any excess nitric that's left in this beaker here. So if I manipulate this, trying to get the camera angles right so you can see what I'm doing here. There's still going to be some excess nitric in here, and that those pieces of silver that I've got in that jar there will consume that excess nitric. We'll put this back up here on the heat. I'm going to add some more used nitric acid here, and we'll continue to dissolve out the base metals and silver out of the imported gold there. This is speeded up about 16 times normal speed. You can tell by the fume production there that most of the silver and base metals were removed on that first hot dilute nitric acid treatment. This has only been on boiling now for about less than 10-12 minutes here. All the fumes are gone out of it. So what I'm going to do here, didn't take very long. I'm going to pour this off into my silver jar here. I'm going to rinse it off real good. Try to get all the color out of it. Now I'm going to fill the beaker up with about 100 ml of distilled water. out of my jar here. I'm going to set this back on the heat just to make sure I got everything out of there. I'm going to use concentrated nitric acid here and let this boil a little bit longer and see if I can ensure that I get all the base metals out of there. I've had this on boiling now for about 15 minutes in that dilute nitric solution. All the fumes are gone, and I think I got everything dissolved out of there. I'm going to pour this acid into my container here and save it for later use. It'll still dissolve base metals. Alright, here's what our gold looks like after it's been parted with the nitric acid. Now what I'll do is I'll rinse it out real good, and we'll pour the rinse water in our silver jar over here to capture any residual nitrate that comes out of this rinse here. That gold right there, if I melted that up right now, would be probably close to 3/9 fine, just like it is. I'm going to put it back on the heat over here now, and I'm going to cover it with some distilled water and give it a quick boil with some distilled water here, gently. And then we'll pour this off and get this this gold dissolved in aqua regia and refine it. I was in editing the video, took my attention away from this for a little while, and as you can see, there's a bunch of specks of gold spattered inside where I had little mini steam explosions going on. That's why it's important to keep the beaker covered up. It kept the specks of gold from coming out of the beaker. I'm going to dump off this distilled water into my silver jar here. This gold should be nice and cleaned up now, ready for refining. Alright, now I'm going to set it back on some low heat here, and I'm going to add concentrated nitric acid, about 100 ml or so. I've got some concentrated sulfuric acid here. I'm going to add a little bit of it to the beaker, maybe a half a milliliter. Got some concentrated nitric acid here. I'm going to add a few milliliters of it. There's 3. There's 6. And we'll let that go and see what that does for us. This has been on now for about 12 minutes. I've got 100 ml of hydrochloric in there, 6 ml of concentrated nitric, and as you can see, there's just a few grains of gold left in the bottom. going to add about another half milliliter of concentrated nitric. Just a little bit, maybe just a few drops here. See if we can get the rest of that gold to go in solution. Got everything in solution now. Go ahead and pull this down off the heat and let it cool so we can filter it. Got everything chilled down. I left it in the refrigerator there for about an hour while I got something to eat. So now we're gonna filter our solution. The water's cold. Had that in the freezer. Got everything cold here now so we can get a good filtration on this. Another flask here. I'm gonna pass the gold a second time through the same filter paper here, because I did see some silver chloride in our beaker. Try to get that all filtered out here. Transfer the gold to this rinsed out beaker back here. Still got a little touch of cloudiness to it. Bought a brand new bottle of Stump Out. This is sodium metabisulfite. Bought this at Ace Hardware. So what we'll do now is add some of our Stump Out to our gold solution here and precipitate to pure gold. This is sodium metabisulfite. Has been allowed to settle. It's looking pretty good down there. It's been settling for about 30 minutes. I'm going to pour off the waste solution now into my beaker here, and this will be added to the stock pot later on. Let me get the gold here into this piece of filter paper carefully now. Give it another quick rinse here. Try to break it up with a stirring rod. Rinse it with some distilled water now. This is actually looking much better. The gold's holding together better. This looks more like what I'm used to seeing. I'm going to put the gold and the filter right back into the beaker here. I've rinsed this beaker out so it's clean. I'm going to dissolve and precipitate one more time. There's about 100 milliliters of salt concentrated hydrochloric acid. I'm going to cover this up, put it up on the heat here. I'm going to add some concentrated sulfuric acid here just to make sure we get the lead out, not very much. Okay, I'm going to add 6 ml of concentrated nitric acid here. And another half ml here, just to make sure we get everything to go into solution. Been on the heat now for about 15 minutes. Got everything in solution. I'll pull it down off the heat now so we can get it to cool down. Filter and precipitate one more time. I'm going to add a few pieces of ice here. Get it to cool down a little quicker. Here we go. We're going to give it a filtering now. It's cooled down to about the temperature of a cold glass of iced tea. Got everything to the filter now. We'll go ahead and put this in the beaker, and we'll precipitate the gold out one more time. This is a clean beaker. The solution's crystal clear now. No cloudiness whatsoever. Now I'll add a couple of spoons of stump out, and we'll precipitate out the pure gold. Pure gold powder has been allowed to settle for about a half hour now. I'm going to pour it off into this waste container. This is the waste solution. It's going to have a little bit of gold in it. I'll add this to my stock pot later on. And now we'll get the gold powder into the filter here. Get the camera adjusted right. Nice and fluffy. Caramel brown color. This is going to be very high purity gold here, finally. And now a quick rinse with distilled water. Transfer the clean gold now to this melt dish. Now we'll put it over here on the melt table and get ready to melt it up into a nice bar. Okay, here it is, the final product. As you can see, it's absolutely beautiful. Nice, clean looking surface there with no traces of contamination. Let's see what we got for a weight here. 18.0 grams of absolutely pure gold. It's got some nice pore lines in it. Nice looking bar of gold. Now we're going to stamp this up and put it up for sale on my eBay store. Perfect. Here's the finished product. I've got 999 fine gold stamped on there. with my name. Now we'll put this up for sale on my eBay store. This will conclude the gold-filled scrap refining video part 2. This was a repurification, and I quartered this piece of gold here with some silver and got it cleaned up real nice. This is a real high purity gold bar with my logo stamped on it, 3 tips. It says 999 fine gold and 18G at the end for 18 grams. So I've had folks requesting, I want something from 3 Tips shop, his refining shop. Here it is. I'm going to start the bidding for this gold. It's 18 grams, probably valued at around $750. I'm going to start the bidding for this gold at $900. I want to get paid. I've been working on this thing for 5 days now. It took a lot. It took 4 separate refinings to get it this pure. And I learned a few new things from this video. How to deliver the nitric acid to the gold-filled scrap. That was a big one. And that in quarting the gold with silver is like a magic bullet to remove impurities from your gold. Okay, this is going to go on my eBay store. Starting bid will be $900 US. My store name has been changed. It used to be Baffless. It is no longer Baffless. My store name now matches my YouTube username, so that my eBay store is now called 3 Tips. Okay, we're going to conclude the video right here. Put this thing up for sale. Thanks for watching.